Tonight's show is about political correctness. It's about, banning words like crosshairs and everything. It's about insanity that's going on instead of fixing problems. But we have to start at the beginning. It's about, really, the E4 solution that we've been talking about. E4, enlightenment, education, empowerment, and entrepreneurship. That is the way to solve our problems. It's about the individual. But we also have to look to the youth. We must figure out how to reach our kids, because our kids are being reached in school whether we like it or not. We used to be taught as kids ourselves that there was no such thing as a stupid question. We were encouraged to be curious. Are we now? It was Thomas Jefferson who taught us, quote, "Question with boldness even the very existence of God, for if there be one, he must more approve of the homage of reason than that of blindfolded fear." You know who's protected to ask questions and say controversial things? Not the students. No, they can get downgraded for that. Only the elites, only the ranchers, only the professors. They're protected. They just want you to sit down, be quiet, or you're going back to the herd. The herd isn't smart enough to understand. You've seen this over and over again.
All this stuff about how different Barack Obama is. They're just not used to somebody really smart. They're just not used to somebody who's really well educated.
You know, education, if you make the most of it and you study hard and you do your homework and you make an effort to be smart, you can do well. If you don't, you get stuck in a rack.
So far, they've gathered up about everybody for this Tea Party but the Mad Hatter, and Alice in Wonderland, I'll give it to them, I think.
You guys don't get that.
I do get it.
You're simpletons. You're idiots if you don't get that.
All right, this is the progressive agenda from the beginning. It was Woodrow Wilson that said this, going back to schools where your kids are, that the use of a university is to make young gentlemen as much unlike their fathers as possible. Really? That was his aim. When he was the president of Princeton, that was his aim. Well, I think they're doing a great job. And not just Princeton, please. Princeton may be the best of them. Harvard, Yale, please. Doing a great job at Columbia University, trying to make the next generation completely different from their parents. But I don't think that's what we as parents are paying for in our children's education. You see, at Princeton and everywhere else, they're grooming ranchers. Not cows, ranchers. If you're smart enough to get into Princeton or Yale, you must have been in here, but you can leave your stupid little town and come here to the university. You're already above the stupid questions of the herd. You're part of the ranchers now. A group of people that we're saving the herd. That's the goal, to make new ranchers, to mold an entire generation who can herd the rest of the stupid cattle back home. They can't think for act for themselves. They don't know. During a Princeton commencement address, Wilson said, quote, "We are now men and must accept in the highest spirit the same transcendent destiny, and not pinched in a corner, not cowards fleeing before a revolution, but redeemers and benefactors. Collective salvation." We can't have the cattle play the role of the rancher. That causes chaos. We can't have the sick, the weak, or the failing cattle. It slows the herd down. We have to have justice among the herd and social order, and we will decide as ranchers what that is. They're no longer talking about educating your children and questioning. They're not teaching how to question. They are teaching how to corral. They are talking about saving human life. They're talking about the poor. They're talking about saving the planet that the cows don't understand. That's why Andy Stern and Richard Trumka say workers of the world unite. They need to level the playing field. Yet, at the same time, that's why Robert Gibbs, according to the president, makes a modest $172,000 a year. Movie stars can talk about leveling the playing field, but they can make $10 million a film, because they're not in the pen. They're over here. That's a different category. You don't eat what the cows eat, do you? Here's your Ivy League educated example from Bill Maher. Bill Maher is talking here about the health care debate. Quote, "Members of Congress have recessed now so they can go home and listen to their constituents. An urge they should resist because their constituents don't know anything," end quote. You have to teach your children to be independent, that some people do only act out of these four things. Some people do that. But that's not an enlightened way to live. That's not the highest self or even a higher self. That, quite frankly, is this kind of American.
Why are you here?
To get some money.
What kind of money?
Obama money.
Where's it coming from?
Obama.
And where did Obama get it?
I don't know. His stash. I don't know. I don't know where he got it from. But he's giving it to us to help us. We love him. That's why we voted for him.
Okay. They were obviously, I guess, self-preservation or security. That's what moved these people, the cash. Now, to me, the question seems obvious. To me, that's a person in a herd. They're not paying any attention to anything. They don't even know where the money is coming from. Well, if we're out here and that's who's in with the cattle, wouldn't it be more noble to teach what you've deemed cows how to empower themselves? Push them to be their highest possible self, to let them know that's not your highest self. Get out of the pen. You're town folk. You're not a cow. Wouldn't it be more noble, wouldn't it be better to teach them who they were born to be, not who they've allowed themselves to become, or who they've allowed themselves to be convinced they are? If they don't want to, that's fine. They can fail. They can live whatever way they want. But not on my dime. That pushes people out of a corral. How is it more noble to corral those 25% up and just put them there and say, we got to move the herd? That's not better. That's not better. What that is that's preparing people to wind up on a plate at a Black Angus steakhouse. Is that violent rhetoric? Oh, I hope not. Oh, hold me to the highest standard at CNN. Okay, now, let me show you what's happening in the news today that nobody is paying attention to. Do you remember what got Barack Obama into trouble back on the campaign trail? Well, here's one of the things. This.
It's not that I want to punish your success. I just want to make sure that everybody who is behind you, that they've got a chance at success too. Everybody's so pinched that business is bad for everybody. And I think when you spread the wealth around, it's good for everybody.
It's good for everybody. It's just fair. That's when people said, whoa, 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 Marxism, some Marxist tendencies here in his thought. Then he said that higher taxes might hurt, but that doesn't matter either because it's fair.
For the average person who is making $500,000, $1 million, people like you, Sway, that's chump change. That's nothing.
What people really want is fairness. They want people paying their fair share of taxes. They want that money allocated fairly. Simply restores some fairness in a sense that we're all in this together. I would look at raising the capital gains tax for purposes of fairness.
Purposes of fairness. Okay. And here's what he said would happen to energy rates if his plan for cap and trade went through.
Under my plan of a cap and trade system, electricity rates would necessarily skyrocket.
Okay, I used the analogy for the last couple of years that I told you they were building a machine you didn't want to see them switch on, and Congress was becoming irrelevant. The impact of Congress becoming irrelevant is regulations. I told you that Obama had the head of his Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs, Cass Sunstein. I called him the most dangerous man in America because no one saw him coming or will see him coming even now. Of course, my detractors said, oh, that's crazy, it's ridiculous. He's a regulatory czar, he's the most dangerous man in America. Yeah, he's a Harvard-educated professor. All he really wants to do is protect the herd. When we come back, I am going to show you the protection of the herd. What's coming now. Started yesterday. More on that next.